He's for the game. He's for the rugby. He's a big rugby. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. This is Dungeon Party. Dungeon Party is a game where the players are going to take on the role of characters in a adventuring party. See the party word there? And they're going into a dungeon. See it there? And they are going to be killing monsters and taking treasure. It is not a cooperative game, though you do have to work together to kill the monsters. The trick is that the person who does the final points of damage to the monster gets the treasure. Normally. Sometimes things will happen, but normally what happens is that the last person, does the killing blow to the monster, and then they're going to get the treasure coaster, which will give them some points or be a magic item that'll give them an ability or any number of things. And you're going to see more of those once I show you how the game is played. Now, the game is unique in the fact that this is a dexterity game. So if you ever played a game of quarters in your life, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. One of the age-old drinking games of all time. Take a quarter. If you are able to bounce it into a cup that's in the middle of a table, you can then force somebody to take a drink. If you miss, you have to take a drink. And there's like a million variations to that. But that is the general situation that you have. Now, I used to, in my college days, I used to partake in a pint or two, and I would play quarters a lot. So I was excited about because I always felt I was a pretty good shot with those. I could dunk, and then pook, there was something nice about hearing the clang as it went into the cup. But regardless, in this game, what you're gonna be doing is you're bouncing a coin, a quarter, or whatever. You're trying to get it to land on the monster. And if it lands on the monster, then you do the damage that your character does. But you have to watch out and try to consider the other players at the table and consider what they're attempting to do as well. Because remember, if you do almost all the damage to the monster except for one hit point, the next person, they're going to be able to kill the monster and claim the treasure. So there's some weird timing things that are going on in there. I do like the fact that the name is kind of a play on words because of the dungeon party. That's the group of adventurers that's going into the dungeon. But also the name party in this kind of clues into the fact that this is kind of like a social experience type game, which it is not meant to be played by 4 people sitting in a... I mean, you definitely can play 4 of you sitting at a kitchen table in some late night in somebody's house. It is meant, and because the minimalistic components that are involved and the rugged components that are involved, I should also mention, it is meant to be played in more of a group atmosphere where you're going to be surrounded by people, be it a gaming convention, be it your local tavern or whatever. So because some of the social aspects of the game are going to put people in situations where they're going to have to do things that might be amusing for the people around them to see. And also, some of the things will ask the players to actually interact with the people that are around the game being played as well. Now I'll get more into that when we show you how the game is played. So it's a really, really simple game to explain, and also to teach how to play. And I'm going to show you that, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts about why I think this game is a heck of a lot of fun. Alright, cool. Alright, so this is Dungeon Party. These are not cards, these are coasters. You can put your drink on these. I wouldn't suggest it because you don't want to damage them, but technically these are drink coaster sized pieces of cardboard that I was given for this prototype. And this game is relatively simple to play, but there are some little tricks and tips that you'll learn as you play the game. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how the game is played, but I'm also going to kind of dive into these stacks just so you can see what exactly you'll be getting when the game is published. All right, so to begin with, you're going to set up these 3 different stacks, the monsters, rooms, and treasure. And the treasure you can just shuffle up however you want. The rooms and the monsters actually have different levels to them, level 1 through 5. And so when you set that up, if you want to play the normal way, you begin with level 1 on top, then level 2, level 3, level 4, and so on and so forth. Now, if you wanted to, you could just mix everything up and just go crazy. You could have somebody actually design a dungeon in having successive rooms in different ways and having certain monsters and certain treasures and things like that. So the game is very malleable as far as that, but for the most part, I think people are just going to play it like this. They're just going to set it up and they're going to go. The one thing about the game is that how long the game lasts. There's one way the game can end. That is if everybody loses to the monster in a particular room. If everybody gets knocked out, the game's over and you're going to total up your points and see who wins. However, other than that, like if you set up a scenario, like somebody sets up certain rooms and monsters and treasure, you'd go through that. Or you just would play until like you get through the stacks. But regardless, it isn't really a cooperative game. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is going to be the winner. To begin with, you're going to have a character. These character coasters are going to tell you all the classic trope. Here we have, halfling druid, human paladin, and so on and so forth. Each one of these characters, so let's just look at this human barbarian here. It's going to tell you their starting hit points, which are going to be over here. That's a 7. It has a +2 damage to anything that is considered a primitive, and those will be tag words that'll be on the monsters. And then they have these special abilities, and the special abilities can be used either once per encounter, or this rage, lose 1 hit point and get +2 damage, or if they have a star on them, they can be used once per the entire dungeon that you're in. So just make sure that, and if anything special, you're going to have to pick that before you do your attack. You can't do it afterwards. The class that you have is important because sometimes there'll be like certain treasures that'll be usable by certain classes or unusable by certain classes. There is also, let me find a thief here. So like thieves, they get 2 attempts to disarm traps. Otherwise, everybody else just gets 1. Here you have like a dwarf paladin, +2 damage to undead and evil, and they can try to turn undead, +1 damage to undead if they invoke that special ability and what have you. The reason why you have more hit points is because you can gain weapons or get healing that will increase that. So let's just say we're playing the human barbarian. We'll place him over there like so. Now everybody else will have their character in front of them also like that. The game says that there's like you use paper clips or something to keep track of your hit points. Obviously I just didn't grab a paper clip, but you can do that by just going up and down as you gain or lose hit points, and the monsters will have the same thing as well. So what happens is you're going to take one of these treasures off the top like that. You're going to take the monster, you're going to put it on top of that, and then you're going to take the room and put it on top of that. And the first room, you determine the first player randomly, however you want to do that. And you're going to take it, you're going to reveal the room. In this case, it says it's the Echo Cavern. And it says that when you make your attack, you have to say echo, 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 when you make your attack. Now, this is what I meant by this is kind of a social game. Yes, this is, at its heart, it's a game. It's a dexterity game. It is a game with a really fun theme of delving into the dungeon. But it is meant to be played socially, like having a bunch of friends over, and there is like a drinking version of this. You don't have to play a drinking version, but and also it has to be like kind of in a social atmosphere. There are going to be cards that are going to ask you to be like interact with a stranger in some way, and so it's meant to be one of those things. If you're at a gaming convention, you're playing at your table, you'll be saying like there'll be an interaction where you have to go over to see if somebody has food in front of them. You have to ask them to eat or something like that. Basically it kind of puts the person whose turn it is kind of into a situation where they have to do something that might make them uncomfortable, and it'll be amusing for everybody involved. Now, you don't have to play with those things. If somebody just wants to say, I don't want to say echo, echo, that's stupid. Well, fine, maybe you should be playing with somebody who doesn't want to have fun, but regardless, don't try to make somebody do something you don't want to do. This game is supposed to be fun, and if you're making people not have fun, well then you're not really having fun, are you? All right. Now my little speech is over. We'll go ahead and put the treasure over there. We're not going to reveal it yet. We're going to turn this over and we're going to see what we're fighting. In this case, it is a rat man, and I might as well just pull this up so you can just kind of see it. It is a nature type, so we don't get a bonus as the barbarian, and it has no special attack. And you can see it also has 7 hit points, and it does 2 points of damage. Now, the way attacks work are really, really simple. You will have a coin, like I have this coin here. and I'm probably going to do horribly because I've been practicing for the last 45 minutes, and I was really feeling good about myself. But now, of course, I'll probably do horrible. What you have to do when you make your attack is you have to try to, you can't just throw it on like this. You have to bounce it off the table so it at least hits the table first, and then it lands on the card. If at least half of the coin is on it, that is considered a hit. If it's more than half, less than half, it's not considered a hit. Now, as far as whether or not something is half, that'll have to be up to you and the players at the table, and you can have very loud arguments about that if you want. But again, this game is supposed to be fun, so just, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, the big thing is that you want to be the person that does the final bit of damage to what's going on. So we have a human fighter up next, and so and then we have this elf druid. So the elf druid, actually, like you see, it has a +2 damage to nature. So the smart players will be like, okay, if he hits, he'll do 2 damage, he'll go down to 5. If he hits, they'll go down to 3, and then if the elf druid goes, I didn't even set this up, that's pretty cool, and they hit, they're going to kill the rat man. Whoever kills the monster gets the treasure. And there might be some differences to that if the treasure's trapped or something like that, but just keep that in mind that they'll do that. So there might be some gamesmanship going on here as well. Like maybe the barbarian says, well, maybe I won't I'll do poorly with my attack or whatever, and I'll take the damage. Because if you fail in your attack, you take the damage from the monster. So if the human fighter goes and they hit and the elf druid hits, then the human barbarian would be in a chance to hit. Now, you're considered to be if you're knocked out from the combat, you're considered to be healed back up to full, and you're healed back up to full at the end. So you get to go into the next combat. So this isn't a situation where you have to worry about really losing your hit points. So there's some gamesmanship, as I said, that'll come into play. But let's just see how I do here. I'm gonna do horrible, I know. All right, here we go. See what I mean? I was I swear I did 7 in a row just a few minutes ago. Oh, okay, so now this would be an argument. Obviously that isn't half and half, so that would be a miss, and let's just see what the druid would do here. Oh, of course, horrible. Well, I swear I was doing a lot better a little bit ago, and of course, hey, I got the cavern. Hold on. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. Ugh! Ah, yay! It's easier than it looks. Don't blame me. Plus, I think my mouse pad cover here is causing it. Off a real table, I think it'll bounce. It bounces a lot better. So that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. But anyway, so let's say that's the final hit that takes out the ratman. Now, and let's say the human fighter killed it. So we turn over the treasure, and it is an amulet of protection. And it says there, it's on the bottom, first of all, these 2 crystals over here mean it's going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game. And over here it says it protects from all curses. So curses are something that can happen when you find things as you delve in the dungeon. I'll dig through and maybe I'll find one to have a look. Now, players have the option of keeping the treasure. Now, obviously the human fighter is going to probably keep this, but they have the option of keeping the treasure, or they can give it to somebody else. Now, this is where a little more gamesmanship and negotiation can happen. You can start to discuss, it's like, hey, I'll give you this if later on, you give me a treasure like that treasure. I mean, and when we played, we actually were trading things back and forth. The rules don't explicitly say that you can't trade treasure, but once again, you're here to have fun, and it's your game. So even if the official rules of Dungeon Party were that you can't trade treasures, between the players, I say go for it. It just adds to the fun of the game. Now, rooms, let me just see, let me find a room here, if I can find a, sometimes they're, okay, the heavy fog in this room. And then the social thing is that you have to look through a glass while making this. So you got to hold something up to. Here we have a cavern, and it's trapped treasure. Now, if you have a trapped treasure or a trap in general, or here we go, trap, sticky floor. And so this would be another trap that you'd have to disarm. Now, when traps happen, what happens is that starting with the first player, you try to, if it's a trapped room, here, I'll give myself another shot here. So, if it is a trapped room, you will have you'll be trying to, where's my coin? There it is. So if you're trying to avoid the trap by bouncing it, once again, let's see how I can do better here. Look at that! I told you, 7 in a row. So if you land on the trap, you disarm the trap, and then it doesn't affect you. So like, this will not do double damage to everyone. Once again, gamesmanship comes into play. Like, maybe you don't want to disarm the trap. Maybe you have a lot of hit points and everybody else doesn't. And you want them to lose lots of hit points in this particular thing. But remember, if all of you lose in the battle to the monster, you all are done. But then again, gamesmanship comes in hand. If you know you have more points than everybody, you can then say, hey, look, I may have got knocked out and we all got knocked out, but I ended up with the most points, so you win. Now, treasures, if you have a trapped treasure, so let's say, like this next one, and here's like a staff of lighting. It has to be a mage or a druid. Now here's like, we have this elf druid, remember? Let's say the human barbarian got to that. The human barbarian could say, you know what? I will trade this to you if you give me a magic sword or something later on that you find. You know, and so then that would be like, you could decide if it's binding or non-binding or whatever. Who cares? You can figure it out. But if it's a trap treasure, like you know, this one says that a trap treasure, the only way you can claim it, and some traps will actually have damage and things like that. This one just means you can't, if you don't get it, you can't. Once again, you got to bounce it onto. No, I failed. Let me see. Look at that! Ah, I'm doing great now. So then the person that disarms the trap would then be able to claim the treasure and take it, and that's how that works. Now I wanted to actually show you like a bunch more rooms. Here, so. Let's see here. Oh, there's things like actually for heads and tails on coins. So all unlucky players attack coins land on tails take 2 damage. You know, so there's little things like that. Here's like once more the social atmosphere of the game. The attacking player must hold the hand of the player to their left while attacking. It's like, you know, here's a psychic blast, once again, social thing. Cover your brain with both hands and shout, my brain, right before attacking. So there's definitely things that are, once again, trying to get people to have fun and just be kind of more of an experience than truly a game. So here's a curse. So large dungeon room, cursed. And so Beggar's Curse, first to miss must get a stranger to buy them a drink. Now, as I said before, don't make somebody do something they don't want to, but if you are having fun, you're playing this in your local establishment, let's say, curses work. The first player, and the first player is always going to be the person that got the treasure in the last, or like not to get, basically did the killing blow to the monster. They may have given the treasure away. But the person who did the killing blow will get, be the first player. So the first player to miss is going to get affected by that curse. And so when that happens, you know, that would happen. Now, if all of you pass the curse, then nothing bad happens. So let me just, here, I'm going to see if I can dig up some of the bigger monsters that you're going to face later on. So here you have like a level 5 monster, evil wizard. He's magical, evil. He does 4 damage with his attacks instead of like the 2 before, 13 hit points, and you know, tail side miss is ×2 damage. So there'll be like certain things, certain special attacks that if the coin lands on tails and it misses, he'll do 8 points of damage instead of 4. You know, here's like a troll. They will regenerate 2 hit points every round. So you got to make sure everybody's like banging away. Here's like a mantis warrior, and they has armor, so it does every one of your attacks is -1 damage. So there's a wide variety of all those different kinds of monsters and things going on there, which I think are awesome. Then the treasures are what you probably expect. You have daggers with +1 damage. Just some ruby gemstones are going to be worth some coins. Just kind of. Here's a strength potion, +2 damage for entire battle. Notice that it has the star on there, so it only will work for that particular encounter. A magic lockpick, a thief has to be able to use, but then they're going to get 3 attempts to disarm their traps instead of just 2. These are awesome. I had this in a game I played recently. Allows attacker to attack twice, so that was really cool as well. It actually doomed me because I would miss twice in a row sometimes, and then I'd end up like taking lots of damage. But game's a heck of a lot of fun. It is, like I said, it is a game, but it is more of a social experience and just a bunch of friends sitting around having a blast playing it. And that's what I love about Dungeon Party. Let me talk about that and more in my final thoughts. All right, so Dungeon Party, there you go. I just want to say one more thing. You know, the designers of the game, and they explicitly say in the rules, like, you know, it's like, yes, you can play this game as a drinking game. do not play this game and drink a bunch and get sick and what have you. I mean, it's meant to be fun, but don't be forcing people to do stuff. I mentioned that during the gameplay portion, but use your head, use your noggin. You know, when I was younger, I remember berating people. It was like, come on, take another drink. But I mean, you know, that was wrong, and I shouldn't have been that way when I was younger, and it was a lame attitude to have. And you ultimately, like, you're out with your friends, you're out with your buddies, you're trying to have a good time. If you're making somebody do something they don't want to do, they're not having a good time, and why should you be enjoying making somebody else do that, right? So make sure everybody at the table understands that, like, yes, you might pull over a card that says, hey, you need to go over that person over there you don't know and ask them to buy you a drink or something like that. If the person's like, I don't feel comfortable with that, you just gotta say, you know what, let's draw another one. You know, ditch that card, ditch that coaster, draw another coaster. Let's have something different instead. And just everybody agree that that's totally cool and that's the way you should play. That being said, this game is hilarious to play at a gaming convention. It wasn't really a gaming convention that I played at, but my local gaming store has open gaming nights, and they're the first Saturday of every month. And basically, if you go there, you get a ticket, and the ticket, you know, allows you to win prizes, and also they have like 25% off on all their board games. So it's a night where they have a huge gaming area. They have like a huge open office gaming area that has about like 50 tables. They can cram about 200 people in there. I played this there. Man, oh man, the people around us thought, like the 6 of us that were playing were absolutely insane. And they were laughing their butts off at us, and we were laughing ourselves too. So it was a wonderful social adventure. It was a wonderful social experience. And see, the thing was, it was like, we wanted, this is the cool thing. So I was playing it with my daughter and a couple of her friends, a couple of my friends, and we were there. And we wanted there to be like, you know, as far as like the taking a drink, things like that, we wanted there to be like a negative, but I'm playing with 12-year-olds, so you can't be like bringing beer in there and doing whatever. What we did was, for our negative thing is, we went out and got a bag of those Bean Boozled jelly beans, the ones that can taste like vomit or skunk or whatever. And when you would be forced to like do something bad, we ruled that you had to grab one of those jelly beans out of the bag and eat it, you know, and it was like, oh man, I got a snot one, and it was not good. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, and we had a blast playing it. So I did feel a little bit weird, I'll say this, about the fact that I was like teaching 3 6th grade girls how to play quarters. So that bothered me. And I was a champion quarters player when I was in college. I mean, I was so good at quarters, and I don't know why I'm so bad at this game. Maybe I've lost my touch. But ultimately, the thing was, it was like, I played this, I goofed around with it with my wife and my daughter playing at home. We had fun with it. But when it shined for me is when I took it to that social atmosphere, right? And I brought it into, and like everybody at that gaming area was there like, what are you playing? What is this? And I was like, sadly, the game's not out yet, but you know, I was explaining to them, I'm sure a lot of them have backed it already. But the thing was, it was like, everybody was like, this game would be fantastic for, like, you know, when you're having, maybe not your normal game playing friends over, and you wanted them to play something, and you know, and I mean, admittedly, I am in my 40s, my late 40s now, so I'm not really in the party crowd anymore, so to speak. But I could definitely see 20 years ago me, if I had this game, it would definitely be something that me and my buddies would probably have played with a few frosty beverages, if you will, and so it's just one of those things where I think the culture of it basically asks the players just to, you know, let their hair down, so to speak, and don't worry about being like, you know, feeling silly or whatever, but just, you know, playing some games and having some fun and having a good time, all laughing at yourselves and each other equally in a fun environment. And you know, I guess I stress it a little bit just because, you know, as I get older, I get worried a little bit about my kids being pressured into situations. So just take that piece of advice. Ultimately, the game's a blast. It's super fun. I love games that are quick to set up, quick to teach, and like basically everybody at the table knows exactly what the rules are. And like if you want to talk about like just as far as the game goes, you know, I shouldn't say hate. I really don't like games where people are taking their turns and like everybody else doesn't care, right? They got their phone out, they're talking to their buddy, they're just lost, they're you know, for some reason they're like, you know, staring off into space thinking about whatever. This is a game where everybody is focused on what's going on, because it literally takes seconds to take your turn. You're bouncing a coin, you're trying to hit that card, and especially when you get to certain situations where, like, if this person manages to make that shot, they're going to get this monster dead and they're going to get a treasure. Everybody laser focus on what's going on, and like the arguments over whether or not the coin is half on or half off, just priceless, you know. And so it was a game that every single time I played it, everybody was watching, everybody was involved, everybody was having a blast, and everybody cared about what everybody else was doing. It wasn't a situation where you know, people were just navel gazing when it wasn't their turn to act. So I love those types of games. I want to game because I want to be around people that want to be there, not staring at their social media on their phone while they're waiting for their turn. And Dungeon Party is a game that promotes everybody at the table having a blast, being interactive, being friends, and enjoying each other's company. And that's why this game will stay on my shelf and it ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So there you go. If you have any questions about Dungeon Party, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Remember, be the best version of you that you possibly can be. I guarantee you, the more love you give the universe, the more love the universe is going to give back to you. You are awesome. I'm the Undead Viking. I'll talk to you soon.